All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the invitation, Mr. McAleese. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today to speak with everybody about what we're doing from a PAE fires perspective, but also from an Army acquisition reform perspective. And we're supposed to show some slides. There we go. So, I'm going to talk to you all a little bit about the organization, but coupled with what we're doing inside of the organization is also what we're trying to do across the Army, right? And so not only are we going to look at the PAE structure, and that is important in understanding how do we actually realize and implement acquisition reform so it generates the outcomes that we're looking for. But also looking across the Army to understand how we're prioritizing this as an effort so that we can collectively be successful. Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to the delivery of capability, right? So you can make the problem as complicated as you want to make it, but we're really trying to accomplish a very simple thing, right? Unfortunately, it's like what Clausewitz said, right? Everything in war is simple, but even the simple can be very difficult. So we're focused on positive acquisition outcomes and how we move at a more rapid, aggressive rate and manner to deliver those outcomes. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about what PAE Fires is and what our scope and breadth and depth of the organization looks like. On the left side of the chart, you'll see our portfolio of defensive fires capabilities. This is our capability portfolio executive for defensive fires, and it contains the entirety of our Army's integrated air and missile defense capabilities. So at the top left, you see our Integrated Fires and Mission Command Project Office. That contains our Integrated Air and Missile Defense Battle Command System. That's our premier battle command system that's common across all air and missile defense capabilities within the Army. That was important to us to level set the training that all of our air defense soldiers get, so they're not having to get retrained every time they go to an MSHORAD unit or to a THAAD unit or to a Patriot unit. It's a common fire control battle management system that everybody's used to operating. Below that's our STAIR project office. That handles all of our sensor capability. Obviously, our premier sensor in there is LTAMS, the replacement for the legacy Patriot radar. Below that is our SHIELD project office. That's got our PAC-3, MSC, and Patriot family of interceptors, as well as MSHORAD and IFPC. That's commonly where we host our effectors, our air defense effectors within the portfolios within the SHIELD project office. Below that is our Advanced Counter UAS Effectors Office, what we call ACE. It's got our directed energy portfolio of capabilities, along with our IBCS maneuver system. That was an award to Anduril for its Lattice system just a few months ago. That's going to replace our 40-year-old FAD-C2 system that used to conduct all of our fire control for our SHORAD capabilities. And we also house our suite of counter UAS capabilities within the ACE office as well. And below that, just a little grayed out, you see the THAAD project office. The THAAD project office will be transferring over to me from MDA in FY27. We're working very closely with MDA right now on that transfer plan and that memorandum of understanding and agreement. So a lot of great air and missile defense capabilities within the Army portfolio that are within our defensive fire side of the house. On the right side of the chart is what I commonly refer to as our offensive and strategic fires capabilities. We host that in our CPE for offensive fires. And at the top of the list there, you see our STORM project office, where we have PRISM, ATACMS, guided MLRS, along with our HIMARS launcher and MLRS launcher. Next to that is our Strike project office, where we have medium-range capability in our long-range hypersonic weapon. Below that is our Tactical Aviation and Ground Munition project office, where we have things like JAGM, Javelin, long-range precision munition. Work very closely with the aviation community on that suite of missiles and munitions. Below that is the Self-Propelled Howitzer Project Office. We've rolled in from both Ground Combat System and the old JPEO ANA, the Self-Propelled Howitzer Office, as well as M777 and the M119er. And then next to that is the Advanced Fires Project Office. It's an office that I brought over from the RICTO, and it's managing a lot of our new efforts, that we're working very closely with R&E on, as Honorable Michael had mentioned. Things like scaled hypersonics. You see there the Castilian Blackbeard missile. We're working closely with R&E on low-cost containerized munition, low-cost cruise missiles, and the CAML, the Common Autonomous Multi-Domain Launcher, is being run out of that office as well. So again, as you can see, a very dynamic portfolio with a vast amount of capabilities. And delivery of this capability is how we achieve our peace through strength mantra. And that begins with having enough of what we have when we need it to ensure we can deter our enemies and adversaries. At the heart, at the end of the day, that gets at what we're really trying to do, delivery of capability so we can deter our adversaries. One of the things that's resident within this portfolio, it's incumbent upon me to create opportunities for the members of industry so that there are chances to compete for new business. And every time we get through a certain period of time where we accomplish and complete a number of competitions, I'm always left wondering, okay, well, what's new on the horizon? And I'm always looking for opportunities to recompete requirements to bring new industry members to the table. Recently, we've had our industry day for CAML, the Common Autonomous Multi-Domain Launcher. We've also completed an industry day and have a request for proposal on the street for our mobile tactical cannon. Mobile tactical cannons intended to replace the M777 and the 119er. We've also recently announced our PRISM Increment 4 competition. And we've had an industry day for lower tier future interceptor. So again, it's important for me to ensure that we are making available to industry opportunities to compete. That's important from an investor perspective. That's an important facet from company investments, right? Making sure that we offer you an opportunity to recoup an investment if what you have fulfills a capability gap that we possess. So if the last slide was the what, I want to talk a little bit about the how. And this gets really kind of at the heart of our acquisition reform initiatives. Because you can do a lot of stuff, but if you're doing a lot of stuff in an old framework or through old methods of doing business, then you're really not going to be more effective. You're just going to do a whole lot more work. And so we've created the portfolio acquisition executive for fires, all Army fires. We've created that office, and we've created a lot of resources. We've placed a lot of resources inside the office. First of all, my deputy PAE is Brigadier General Pat Costello. Pat Costello and I have worked for a long time. I like to fondly say that he taught me everything I know about air defense, a very knowledgeable and capable officer who's the CG of the Fire Center out at Fort Sill. My executive director and senior civilian is Miss Miranda Oden. And then on the left-hand side, you'll see my defensive fire CPE is Colonel Guy Elverton. Next to him is Brigadier General R.J. Mikish. He's my offensive fire CPE. Next to them is Miss Jeannie Summer, my integrated fires director. One of the things that I love about this organization is not only are we an acquisition organization focused on the development and production and fielding of capability, but we're actually fulfilling real-world missions. And my integrated fires office is focused on delivery of capability and support of the Guam Defense System architecture. I'm dual-hatted as the GDS JPO. And we also work very closely with General Gutlein. I know he was here earlier today. We provide the Army contribution to Golden Dome. So those are two very important missions that we take very seriously, and our office is organized in such a way in order to integrate those capabilities and then deliver those warfighting functions so that they can be implemented and employed. Draw your attention to the far right-hand side of the chart because that's where the biggest change has really occurred for our PAE. These are the enabling functions. At the top, you got Brigadier General Francis. He's my requirements guy. He runs the Functional Capability Directorate at Fort Sill. Below him is Colonel Dan Gibson. He's my G8 programmer. Dr. Jim Kirsch runs my Systems Center lab. He's my S&T guy. Mr. Brian E2 runs my international office. Miss Lisa Alexander is my head logistician. Colonel John Otten is my main lead for all of my ATEC and test activities. And then Mr. Mark Smith is my current contracting SCO, senior contracting official. So for the first time, we have unity of command and unity of effort. For the first time, all of those external stakeholders that I've spent years and decades influencing to come together, to coordinate, to synchronize, to generate acquisition outcomes, they now work for me. And so I will tell you, we've only existed for about 120 days now. I've probably had some of the most effective meetings, program reviews, discussions that I've ever had in my entire 25-year acquisition career because everybody works for me, everybody's focused on the PAE Fires mission, and everybody in the PAE is focused on achieving Army outcomes that we need to achieve for not only our Army and our nation. So it's been very beneficial, and we're learning a lot. We've never been a PAE before, so we're starting to go through the process to understand how we need to operate so that we are as effective as we can be. That leads me to my next slide. So, you know, we like to say as a part of these Army acquisition reform initiatives, we like to say that we're outcome-focused, not process-focused. But if you don't spend just a little bit of time thinking about process, you will unfortunately spend all your time in the process, right? You kind of got to think about what is the most efficient, streamlined process we're going to execute before you actually start executing it. Because sometimes you can fall into analysis paralysis, right? So, when we first stood up about 4 months ago, we kicked off a monthly senior leader offsite battle rhythm. And what we do is we've come together, and so far we've had a programming offsite, we've had a systems center S&T offsite, and a requirements offsite. And the whole purpose behind that is to come together to have that functional enabler, that lead, come together, and we have a deliberate, purposeful discussion about how are we going to do business, right? Now, I joke with everybody who works for me. I said, you know, I could be tyrannical and dictatorial. I know what I want all of you guys to do, but that's not the kind of leader that I want to be, and that's not how I want to run the organization, right? What I want to have are the good ideas from all of these functional enablers kind of bubble up from the grassroots up through the organization to me so we can make good, well-informed decisions on how we have to proceed forward. And so these monthly offsites are really intended to tease out all those good ideas about, okay, so now the PAE Fires has the authority to generate a requirement. When is the right time to generate a requirement, right? Because we could very easily generate so many requirements that we commit almost requirement fratricide or PAE fratricide, right? And last thing I want to do is something that another PAE is doing, and the last thing that I want to do is have so many requirements that the amount of money I have doesn't fund them all sufficiently, right? So we have to be judicious about the requirements that we generate. But we also have to be responsive to the needs of the Army, right? And so that's not easy. So we need to think about how we do that. Also, from a contracting perspective and from a sustainment and testing perspective, we have to have those same purposeful discussions so we can create basically a standard operating procedure on how PAE fires will work. I know it's a very simple and basic concept, but it's important that we figure this out now on day one so that 3 years from now, we're able to be optimized and conducting business in the really the most efficient manner possible. So I'll say, I'm incredibly proud of this organization. It's truly been a blessing. When the Army came to me and said, hey, Frank, we want you to continue what you've been doing with missiles and space. We're going to give you more. We're going to promote you. We're going to you get to stay in Huntsville. You don't have to move to DC. I was like, man, did I just win the lottery? But I tell you, I have a remarkable, absolutely brilliant workforce. And I had them put this chart together because every once in a while you need to push back away from the table and just look at what your organization has done, what you have been able to accomplish, and give some attaboys, right? And so I have 7 systems up here, and what I like to say is we've accomplished 7 and 7. No, it's not a new drink, but these 7 systems did not exist in 2018. IBCS, MSHORAD, medium range capability, precision strike missile, integrated fires protection capability, LTAMS, LRHW. All 7 of these systems are in production today. I'll tell you, for a branch to modernize one system is a huge deal. I grew up as an armor officer, spent 10 years as an armor officer. For the armor branch to get a new tank or a new heavy tracked recovery vehicle would be a major undertaking for that branch. From a long-range precision fires perspective and from an integrated air and missile defense perspective, we've modernized multiple components in a simultaneous manner. So really, I'm very, very proud of the incredible, phenomenal work the organization has done, but the work's not done, right? Now we're looking at what can we do better? What's the next generation of affordable mass munitions that we can bring into the portfolio to make our warfighters even more lethal? How can we cut cost? How can we produce at scale? How can we create incremental upgrades? Some of you may have seen in the news, we just had our very first successful live fire test for Prism Inc. 2, going after a maritime target, right? So we never rest on our laurels. We have accomplished a lot, but there is a lot more left to do, and we're serious about getting after it. So really appreciate your time today. Thank you for having me here, and I'll open it up for a few questions.
Sir, well, we're getting the mics out on the floor. I'm not sure a lot of people in the room are sensitive to the fact that the Army is actually the largest buyer of missiles in the Department of War at $8.5 billion. 2 recent 7-year contracts that just came out. One was the PAC-3 increase in production by almost 300%, going from 650 to 2,000. And also, the THAAD 7-year contract that's going. What do you see are the benefits to industry? In this case, it's Lockheed Martin, but equally as important, what are the benefits to the Army and the Department of War? And what are your protections under these new contracts?
Okay, thanks for that question. Yeah, so, there's a certain way that we need to do business in order to maximize what a capitalistic free market society provides us, right? And there is a win-win scenario there. It's going to take a lot of work to figure it out. It's going to take a lot of work to find it, but there's a win there. I have been very impressed, and I've been very fortunate and lucky to be able to work very closely with a number of different company CEOs, as well as Secretary Feinberg and his staff, to look at different ways we could create these win-win scenarios. And first and foremost, what we realized was that in order to incentivize industry to make significant investments to address facilitization, increased capacity, address obsolescence, was to make sure that we could create a long-term contracting strategy that would generate a rate of return that would justify the upfront capital investment. And so we've put in a lot of work in framework agreements. We've put in work in the 26 budget relative to 7-year, multi-year contracts. We're putting in continued work in PB 27. And we're working very closely with House and Senate appropriators to create that structure where we can work with industry to enable them to make upfront investments, which is a benefit to us, the department, so that we can buy missiles over the long term, because there's a lot of great alternative capabilities, right? There's a lot of great electronic warfare capability. There's a lot of great directed energy capability. There's a lot of different technologies that are starting to emerge that we hope to be able to leverage to a great extent in the future. But I can promise you one thing: we're going to need missiles and munitions for a very long time. So if we know we're going to need them, let's just own it and buy them, right? And so we've tried to create a structure that allows for a win-win situation in that regard. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of every framework agreement or every contract, but for every benefit, there's a penalty, right? For every stick, there's a carrot. And so we've tried to be creative in allowing for opportunities for both parties to win, but for both parties also to share or to realize penalties when one party doesn't live up to their end of the bargain. And so that's how we're trying to hold each other accountable while also providing a win-win situation in these long-term procurements.
Yes, sir. To your right, sir.
Hi, sir. Jen Judson with Bloomberg. Good to
Hi,
see
Jen.
you. I wanted to ask about the Dark Eagle hypersonic, the first battery capability that you were building out. I know that potentially it was supposed to be fully equipped with all their rounds by the end of last year, 2025. Can you update us on where you are in that process? Is it fully equipped at this point? And then other side is, what kind of low-cost alternatives are you looking at in this space as well?
Okay, thanks, Jen. So I will say we are very close. We are so close to that first battery being fully equipped with all of its capabilities that I don't want to spoil the surprise when we actually get there. But we're within a few weeks, and we've been working closely with Lockheed Martin to ramp up their production capacity in Cortland, Alabama, and help them make investments and work with them on maturing that production and manufacturing line. A few months ago, last fall, we were literally at a point, and believe me, there's nobody who's more frustrated than me, because I want everything right now. There's nobody who's been frustrated more than me with the delivery rate of long-range hypersonic missiles. But if you think about it, last year, I was at a point where we had accepted 5, right? We'd maybe accepted 3 missiles, and we had tested 3. So I had to take a step back and say, okay, like, are your expectations a little unrealistic for, wanting 6, 7, and 8 right now when we've only literally delivered the first 5 prototypes, and Lockheed Martin is still, trying to mature that manufacturing and production process, which isn't very automated, and a lot of those subcomponents and a lot of that assembly that's occurring is occurring by hand. And I've been up close and personal with that missile. It is incredibly complex. So they are continuing to mature, and they are continuing to produce more. And we're looking forward to buying more, because although it's exquisite, it's very, very capable. and provides for a lot of deterrence and capability. And I'm sorry, you had a part two. Oh, yeah, thank you. So we're looking at a wide array of what the Joint Staff has sort of termed affordable mass munitions. I'm working very closely with Dr. Weber in R&E on the SHI program, Scaled Hypersonics. And the whole idea is to have a suite of different hypersonic capabilities at different range envelopes, right? And so working closely with companies like Ursa Major and Castilian and Anduril, you know, we're looking at different opportunities to generate production at scale for more affordable hypersonics. We're also looking at low-cost cruise missile solutions. So different solutions that would allow us to strike at long ranges in mass with more affordable systems. And also, you know, from a cannon perspective, we're always looking at increasing production capacity. From a cannon perspective, we're also looking at generating a new requirement for a program we call DSFT, Direct Support Fires Technology. It's a program that we ran out of the lab for the last few years where we've developed a 4.75-inch rocket. I think we can put about 30 rockets into an MLRS pod, and that'll allow us to deliver more mass downrange in the close fight to make sure that maneuver commanders have the right mix of missile and munition capability they need to have to influence the adversary. So that's just a highlight of a couple of the different things we're doing in order to sort of bring down the cost curve in that particular mid-scale munitions area.
Sir, off to the right, we've got probably time for one more. Sir?
Hi, Matt Bainart, Defense Daily. CENTCOM recently confirmed the first combat use of PRISM in support of Operation Epic Fury. Do you anticipate a ramp up in the production rate for that capability kind of in the context of that use? And a little while back, there was talk of interest in a PRISM Increment 5 concept that would potentially be utilized at hypersonic speeds. Any latest update in that area? Thank you.
So first, coming from the missile and munition guy, I would always tell you I always want more, right? So I don't want to focus on that current operation only, but with regards to the capabilities that PRISM brings to the fight, we want greater magazine depth. We want greater inventory. I'm going to do everything in my power to influence the situation so we have greater buying power for things like PRISM Inc. 1, PRISM Inc. 2, PRISM Inc. 4. So I think it's likely that you will see requests for more funding to ramp those munitions up even more. And that's really in line with what we have been doing. Right now, I have a total of 638 PRISM Inc. 1 missiles on contract. 4 years ago, we bought 10, then we bought 50, then we bought 100. Then last year before last, we bought 300. Last year, I bought 4. I'm about to put 400 more on contract this year. So we're definitely looking to ramp that up. But I'll tell you, we're looking to ramp up all munitions across the board because I want to make sure that we have enough to fight fight and win anywhere we need to fight and win on the globe.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big hand.
Before you go there, sir, can I just close? Because we have 1.5 minutes before we get General Austin on. Did I hear you say you're taking over THAAD?
Yeah, THAAD will transfer to us in 27.
The actual procurement as well, not just the operations.
The procurement and RDT&E.
That makes perfect sense why Undersecretary Obadal mentioned it this morning, and okay, well done, sir.
Okay,
right,
so now let's give a big hand for Lieutenant General Lozano, Master of Fires.